of fundamental and interdisciplinary. He's also advisor to the Persatuan Al-Hunafa, Tuan Taman Tun Dr. Ismail. And he's also attend many conference both local and abroad. I invite him to give his speech. فليتفضل مشكورا.
Jazakallah kulla khair. Thank you very much, sister, for inviting me to deliver my speech. And my appreciation goes to Prof. Fauzan for organizing this particular workshop, as well as to IIIT in general. This is a very important workshop, as you all realize. And I remember I was invited, of course, to deliver in the first workshop. We had more than this number who attended. Well, alhamdulillah, we discussed quite a number of issues. Today, inshallah, we are going to go through the same issues, maybe in more details, bi'iznillahi ta'ala. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. The topic that we are here for, everybody knows it, so I don't need to introduce the topic, but I think it's better to talk about it before I start delivering, because it is also very important to know whether the person talking is qualified to talk to you, because this is about integration of knowledge. It's about Islamic living knowledge and human sciences. So am I a person who is qualified to talk to you about it? To the best of my knowledge, yes, I'm qualified to talk about this because I graduated from the Kulliyyah of Islamic living knowledge and human sciences, which integrates knowledge. And during my time, we used to have a double degree program where we could major in both Islamic living knowledge as well as any area in human sciences, or even to major in Islamic living knowledge and minor in any discipline of human sciences, and vice versa. So alhamdulillah, we were well guided. And before I actually came to IIUM, I graduated, of course, from Islamic school, which integrated knowledge. I wanted to continue with that kind of, integrated approach to knowledge, whereby we study the so-called Islamic studies as well as the social sciences, even though all knowledge is considered to be Islamic, provided that it is based on Islamic principles. So I wanted to continue in both, but I was just thinking about which university could offer me that opportunity. Actually, I didn't know. I had never heard about one. And it happened that, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows our intention, guided me to a magazine. I was in a library. At that time, I was in Sudan. So I was in one of the libraries reading books. And then I happened to come across a magazine that attracted my attention. And I was reading through the magazine when I saw photos of students graduating, with degrees in different disciplines. But what was very special about the photos was actually the gown. It was very different from the gowns that I had seen before. Students putting on sonkos, on graduation day, and then female students, having headscarves. I had not seen it before. So I wanted to read about that particular university. And it happened to be IIUM, which I had not heard about before. So right immediately, I took the address and I wrote to the university to inform the university about my intention to pursue my studies. And alhamdulillah, I received the immediate response. And when I completed my high school, I sent my certificates and I was given admission right immediately. So I came to IIUM to study Islamic living knowledge and human sciences together. So when I arrived at IIUM, of course, we have Ta'aruf week. where we exchange ideas with students of different backgrounds. And then it happened that most of those colleagues advised me to change my specialty, asking me to change to economics, to change to, whatever disciplines other than Islamic studies. And the reason they gave me was, you will not be able to find a job. Islamic studies, it can only make you imam. Otherwise, there is no job. So many people graduated, with degrees in Islamic studies from University of Medina, Azhar, and many others. I said IIUM is very different from those universities. And we should not compare because IIUM is integrating knowledge, and I don't know of any other university doing so. So, well, I stick to my principle and I took Islamic studies. Alhamdulillah, I graduated from the Kulliyyah of Islamic Knowledge, might be a master's and Ph.D. So I have written also on, Islamic living knowledge as well as, human sciences. And I always use that kind of integrated approach. So it is very important for me to talk to you. What are the issues that actually you face when you want to write on Islamic living knowledge and human sciences? You want to integrate knowledge. What kind of roadblocks? What are the things that you're going to encounter? Because if you don't know what you're going to encounter on the way, definitely you don't prepare well. And, you may be somehow discouraged from continuing because these are things that you are not informed about before. So very important for every one of us to know what are the things that we shall encounter. As you know, studying, writing a paper, research, whatever form it may take, is considered to be an intellectual jihad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the first ayah, he commanded the intellectual jihad. Not the other jihad where we go to the battlefield to fight our enemies, but the jihad that everybody must participate in. The other jihad requires permission from the imam, permission from the Muslim ruler. We don't just simply engage in a jihad against the disbelievers. We need to seek permission from, from the imam. He's the one who has to study the circumstances, to study the conditions, to see whether the conditions are favorable for us to participate in such a jihad and whether there is a reason for it. But this kind of jihad, you don't need to seek permission from anybody. It is a jihad that every one of us must participate in, intellectual jihad. Iqra is a command to read. It is a command to disseminate knowledge. It is a command to apply knowledge. All these are included in Iqra. So it is not just simply limited to reading, but you read for a purpose. You read in order to apply. You read in order to convey the knowledge to others who may not have had a chance, and to share the knowledge that we have, because there is nobody who can specialize in everything. No man is an island that you know everything. That is not possible, because Imam al-Ghazali said that because of limited life, we are not able to acquire all the knowledge. And also because knowledge itself is compared to an ocean, which of course has got no seabed. You cannot dive into the ocean vertically and you reach the surface of the ocean. You'll always reach somewhere where you're not able to go beyond. That is the level where you end. But there could be others who may have the ability to go even further, but there's nobody who will be able to reach the seabed. So that is if you want to do it vertically. But if you want to do it horizontally, to go to the other side, which is called the coast, you'll not be able to reach the coast. But if you are able to reach the coast, it doesn't mean that you have reached everywhere, because the ocean is too big. Probably you can swim from here to the end, but you're not able to reach all the ends. So the vertical and horizontal swimming will never be able to lead you everywhere, and that is knowledge. So what you are acquiring is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits you to acquire within the life that is given to you, but there will be others to continue. And that is why it is very important to indicate where you have ended so that others will know where to begin from. And in your research, definitely you have to do that. That I have attempted this, but this is where I ended. I was not able to go beyond this point. So one who is given ability will be able to go beyond. So this is, again, one of the things that we need to highlight. The second thing that I need to talk about before I get into the slides is that we have to do things for a reason, because in Islam, we are not allowed to do things for no reason. So what is the reason for you to do it? Yes, you want to write about something, but why do you want to write about it? You need to justify the reason why you want to write about it. I remember one of the most interesting books I read when I was an undergraduate is a book written by a great scholar who is this Pakistani scholar. You all know him. What is the name of that famous Pakistani scholar? Any of the participants can mention his name? Iqbal. He stated 3 reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets. And these are the justifications for the coming of a prophet. The first reason he mentioned is Allah sent prophets when people were misguided. So they needed to be guided. And that is why Allah sent the prophets. The second reason why Allah sent the prophets is when the message had been distorted.
You take your time to answer the question. Read the question carefully. What the question wanted.
The second reason why Allah sent the prophets is actually to, correct the distortions in the books that had been revealed before. We all know that Tawrat and Injil were distorted. And Allah sent the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to correct those distortions. So there is a justification for the coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the third reason for sending a prophet is when a nation never received a prophet before. So in other words, that nation is in misguidance because it never received a prophet before. Then Allah sent a prophet to that particular nation. So basically, these are the 3 reasons why Allah sent prophets. He did not send the prophets for no reason or for without justification. Now, when we are writing, we need to justify why are we writing on that particular topic. Is there any need to write about it? If others have written about it, and what you're going to write is exactly what they have written, then you are wasting your time. You are wasting your life. You are wasting the resources of the Ummah. Because what you are doing is to rewrite what has already been written. If it has been written, but then the books have probably, have got lost, or the books are no longer available, then you have a reason for writing because there is no any reference. But we have references, and you are repeating what has been already written. So that is not allowed in Islam, to waste time on what is available. Now, one of the reasons why we write is actually to contribute knowledge. Knowledge that is not available, so that people benefit from that knowledge. In order to do so, we need to read to find out what is missing. What is missing so that we will be able to provide it for the people to benefit. And that is a long process. I'll go into that, inshallah. The second reason for us to write is because there is knowledge. There is what is considered knowledge. which is taught probably in schools and universities, which is probably available on the shelves in the library, but that knowledge is distorted. Like what kind of knowledge? Western knowledge has been distorted because the foundation of that knowledge is not revelation. It has been distorted. So you want to correct what has been distorted. That is where we get into Western knowledge, to correct it so that people are not misguided. The third reason why we write is actually to connect the dots that have not been connected by the scholars before. There are so many dots. Some of the dots are not connected. So somebody cannot see the link between the two. Probably, if we are to give an example, we can talk about hadith. The scholars of the past did talfiq, which is about the two hadiths that seem to be contradictory. This hadith is telling you to do this, but a different hadith is telling you to do something else. Maybe this hadith is forbidding something, but another hadith is permitting it. So how do we connect the two? If there is no scholar who has done it before, then you have a reason to do it. So there is a justification here. This is what I'm going to do. So it will be something new. And there could be some other reasons. There are so many reasons, but you need to have a reason. So finding a reason is a great challenge because many of us cannot justify why we are doing things. The next thing that we need to talk about before again getting into the slides is to know where you are heading to. Where are you going? Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking in the Quran, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where are you going? So he leaves it to you to answer it. Where are you heading to? Where do your actions lead you to? So you need to know where your actions are leading you to. So you are going to write about something. So that is already identified that this is where you are heading to. But you need to know, to look beyond and see whether you are able also to reach there, because the journey could be long, but you may not be able to reach there because it will take so many years and you may not be able to live until that time. If you're going to write a research that will take you 50 years, you may not be able to accomplish it. So you need to make sure that what you're going to write about can be accomplished within the time that is given to you, because everything has time. As a student, you are given time. Your studies will last for 3 to 5 years. Then when you're choosing a topic, make sure that the topic that you chose is something that you can write about within the time that is given to you. So where are you going? You need to be very clear, because if you don't know where you are going to swim into, an ocean without knowing the direction to take. It doesn't matter how fast you go, you'll never be able to reach, because you don't know where you're heading. You don't know your destination. There are students who write, and when you read their dissertation, you don't know where they are going, because it is the proposal to tell you where they are going. But in the proposal, you cannot find their destination, which means that there's no point of reading their work because there's no destination to it. Everything must have a destination. So where you are going, and that has to be stated. How are you going there? So you need to mention how you are going to reach your destination. Do you have the means to reach there? By what means you are going to reach there, you have to state. And go by train. Is the train available? If the train is not available, then you cannot go. So ask yourself whether you have the means to reach there. You need money to do a research. But the research you want to do, requires $1 million. You don't have even money to pay for your studies. How are you going to accomplish that study? You have good dreams, but you are not the one to realize them. So again, you need to ask yourself, take some time before you start writing whether you'll be able to reach there. Then you start driving and then you reach not even halfway, but you're not able, you realize that you're not able to reach. In the end, you have to give up. There are people who give up. They never complete their studies. We know some of our colleagues who spent 10 years doing their PhDs, but they were not able to complete their studies simply because they chose a topic that was too broad. It's just like you talk about the research area. Research area and the topic are two different things. You say, I want to write about fiqh. What fiqh are you going to write about? Fiqh can relate to anything. So you need to identify what is your topic in fiqh, because the fiqh is a research area. Fiqh is a very wide area. So what is it that is so specific that you're going to write about? Again, you need to identify. You need to keep on narrowing down until you reach to what you can afford. If you're not able to do that, then don't start writing, because you will never reach there. So this is one of the things that is very challenging. When we are doing our undergraduate, of course, sometimes we don't have the intentions to continue after undergraduate. And we continue because we couldn't find a job. So we are not so clear about what we want to do. But somebody who was very clear right from the beginning of the first year of undergraduate that he or she wanted to continue her studies or their studies until PhD level, they will start to identify what are the missing links, what are the dots, what are the things that need to be connected, what is it that is missing, because you are specializing in an area. You are reading books. As you read books, you can identify what are the issues, what are the problems that were not solved by the scholars before, what are the things that remain ambiguous in our religion that we are not able to understand them, and what are the things that need to be probably, maybe something has been neglected by the people. It has been abandoned. It could be a sunnah that is no longer in practice. So you want to revisit a sunnah that has been neglected. That is the purpose of your research. This is a sunnah which is already there in the books, but nobody has read these books to know the importance of the sunnah, but we need that sunnah today. So you write in order to revisit a sunnah that has been neglected by the people. So you'll be able to know that when you are studying, taking your undergraduate, so that when you continue to masters, you not take so much time to identify the topic, because you already know. This is one of the ways to find a topic. But if you never did that, it is never late. In Islam, it is never late. You can still accomplish something by asking people who know. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Go and consult the ulama. Be a friend of the ulama. The ulama in the area that you want to write about. You want to write about, let's say, you want to write about fiqh of marriage, but then you are consulting the ulama who are specialized in a different fiqh. They will not assist you. You have to consult the right persons. Those will be the ones to tell you what you actually need to do. And that is very, very important. Asking the right persons people who have the knowledge, Ahlul Zikr. These are the specialists who are informed about it because they read the books before you. So what you cannot see, they can see it. They will advise you on what you should contribute to knowledge. So this is another thing that I need to mention as a prolegomena introduction to what we are going to go through. I prepared the slides and let me try to share them so that we can see what some of the issues that I have actually indicated here. So we start from here. I think a full screen will do so that everybody is able to see it clearly. Please give me a few minutes. Okay, so here it is. Well, these are some of the reasons, and not to say these are the only reasons for a research. You are going to integrate knowledge. You are going to harmonize. This is harmonization. So there are things that, have been divided. So you want to unite, you want to bring them. Sometimes we don't unite things, but we try to actually show that there is no any kind of disagreement between the two. Just like mazahib. We are not unifying the mazahib because that is not possible. Those are different opinions. But the objective of the different opinions is the same. So all what we do is to try to harmonize, but not to unify. It is not possible for us to unify certain disciplines, but we may be able to show that there is no any disagreement between the two. This integration is the opposite, of course, of this. And we all know what this integration has caused us. Many scholars who have written about our weakness, identifying the actual reasons for the weakness within the Ummah itself. What is the root cause of what we are going through today? The economic backwardness, intellectual backwardness, and other backwardness that we are facing as a Ummah. Muhammad Abid Al-Jabiri is one of the scholars who have written, and he cited Amin Abdullah, who said that the backwardness of the Muslim Ummah, our weakness, and the decline of the Islamic civilization, not the fall. I have read some books which say that, Islamic civilization collapsed. It fell. That is not true, because the civilization is not just about, the structures, material things. It is also about the individuals, because the individuals are the ones who actually construct the civilization. As long as we have individuals, we don't say that a civilization actually fell. It is still there, even if you don't see it standing. Definitely, Islamic civilization is still surviving, but is in a state of weakness. What is it that has caused the weakness? He says disintegration of knowledge. That we decided to concentrate on either the ulum al-kawniyya, or we decided to concentrate on al-ulum al-diniyya. Whichever one has chosen is considered to be extreme. So concentrating on ulum al-kawniyya without al-ulum al-diniyya is not acceptable. But concentrating on ulum al-kawniyya without al-ulum al-diniyya is not acceptable. Why? Because this is just like talking about the body and the soul. Because al-ulum al-kawniyya, these are the natural sciences or the physical sciences and so on. They are there to serve the body. But al-ulum al-diniyya are there to serve the soul. So we are not here to construct a civilization without a soul. We want a civilization which has a body and a soul, because the body cannot survive without the soul. And when the soul is weak, definitely a civilization starts to suffer all kinds of sicknesses. because the sicknesses of the body are also attributed to the weakness of the soul. As we know, scholars have written about that. I'm not going to quote who has written about that, but many scholars have written about that. And if you are having the weakness in your body, it will also affect, the strength of your soul. So each one has got an impact on the other, or it influences the other. So if we divide knowledge and neglect one type of knowledge, we shall definitely end up in a state that is not good. So we need to have both, because the Quran talks about both and we need them. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar indicates that we need knowledge to develop ourselves physically in this dunya, but we also need knowledge to develop ourselves spiritually in the hereafter. And that is the reason why many ulama have also interpreted the hasana fi dunya as referring to knowledge. So knowledge becomes the focus. So let us go to other issues here. Of course, I have indicated relevantization. This is something I don't want to miss in this presentation, because as a concept, of course, it was introduced just a few years ago. I have not seen this concept in any book, but of course, what I know is that IIUM introduced this particular concept. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Prof. Kamal Hassan is the one who, moted the idea of relevantizing knowledge. Which kind of knowledge needs to be relevantized? That is Islamic knowledge, because, of course, how many people are attracted to Islamic studies? This is the question. I know that many of you are in Islamic studies. When I was a student of undergraduate in IIUM, I remember very well that international students who took Islamic studies were not more than 3 in my batch. There were not more than 3 who took Islamic studies. There were students taking Arabic, but Islamic studies, the number was very small. Most of them took other disciplines. Why? Because they did not probably see the relevance of Islamic studies. But we know that in the past, Islamic studies was something very appealing. But why is it that people lost the interest in it? Probably because of the way the approach is, because it is the approach which makes it something interesting. And that is why I talked about integration of knowledge. So when IIUM started to integrate knowledge, of course, there are people who came to IIUM for that purpose, because they wanted that integrated approach. So it is to relevantize knowledge, to tell people that, well, psychology can be Islamic, sociology can be Islamic, economics can be Islamic. And today, many people have realized that we can have Islamic economics, that we can achieve things, by, integrating knowledge. So we need to relevantize knowledge, to tell people that Islamic knowledge is relevant, and it will remain relevant in the years to come until the end of the world. So let us try to go. I think I need to close these things. Hopefully, I don't know whether what I'm doing is right. Okay. So this is relevantization. So let us go to, okay, this is about dichotomy. The research proposal, this is the reason why you are here. You are here because you want to know what is it that is in the research proposal, what are the things that we should prepare in the research proposal, and if in case we happen to face difficulties, roadblocks, so how do we go about it? So I'm trying to close this thing. I don't know whether it appears from your side, covering the screen, but let us try to manage it. Okay, so this is about the proposal. The proposal is a roadmap. Of course, you need to have a roadmap before you start writing. What is a roadmap? So a roadmap is a description of your journey. You are going to travel. Writing a research is traveling. So what is the nature of that particular journey? And how do you trod it? What does it require you to have to trod it or to embark on it? So of course, the roadmap will describe where you are going, how you are going there. So how will you reach your destination? So it is the plan. And of course, when you want to construct a house, the first thing you think about is the plan. So how big the house will be. If you are a person who plans to have 20 children, then you don't, of course, buy a house in a condominium, because the house in a condominium will only have a maximum of 3 rooms. It's not meant for 20 children. That is meant for a small family. For those people who are, considering family planning, condominium is very good because it's just 3 rooms. So one room may be for 2 children, another room is the guest room. So those who plan big families, 20 children, they would buy a house in a kampung, in a village, because over there you can always expand. You can always have a bigger house in any way you like. So planning is very important. Family planning, of course, is not just about limiting the number of children, but is also to plan how you want your family to be, to live, how many children you plan to have in the future. So you need to consult even the spouse to be, whether that spouse to be is ready to produce that number of children. Because if the spouse is not ready to produce 20 children, that means that you may consider even having another spouse who will be able to continue to produce other children. So you need to identify also what are the things that you need and how you are going to accomplish it. That is what you call the roadmap. So now, after having the roadmap, which is actually very clear, and that is your research proposal, the roadmap or the research proposal will convince a person who wants to sponsor you whether he or she should sponsor you, the organization. If it is something very interesting, they will definitely sponsor you because it is well written. And if it is not well written, even if you are full of ideas, but those ideas cannot be put on the paper, you will not find a sponsor. Why? Because you cannot put it on the paper. There are people who have many ideas, but they cannot put them on the paper. Maybe he knows it in Arabic, but he cannot write it in English. Or if he's going to write in Arabic, he knows it, but he cannot put it down in Arabic. So language is very important because then it will help you to put down what you have in your mind. A research proposal will also, be the one to decide whether somebody wants to read your research or not. Of course, when we go to the library and we look at the research section or the section where they place the dissertations, the first thing we look at is the proposal. Should we continue reading that dissertation or not? If the proposal is not well written, you will not continue reading it, even if it contains, very useful information. So that is the proposal which will actually sell your product, which will actually attract the attention of the people. And the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in all his speech, he used to attract the attention of the people in the beginning. The Quran is doing that, attracting the attention of the people, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and the attention is drawn. So when Allah says Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, is to draw attention. So you need to draw the attention of the people, and that is done in your proposal writing. Now, the second or the next thing that we need to talk about is structuring a proposal. Because this is also one of the great challenges. What should be the structure of the proposal? There is no one single structure to the proposal. different faculties may have different structures, but there are certain things that are a must. Those things must be there. If one of them is missing, then the proposal is not adequate, is not complete, is not convincing, and they will always ask you how you are going to do it if that thing is actually missing. Now, let us look at some of the things that you need to include in your proposal. I don't want to go into this, but because before you write a proposal, of course, you need to engage in the thinking process where you have to think about the topic, think about other means that you need, and so many things. So coming to here, let me start with the topic, because topic is one of the things that you need to include in your proposal. A proposal must have a topic, definitely. But the topic, what kind of topic? The topic should be something that is so attractive. You know, we buy books based on the title. When the title is very interesting, definitely you buy. I remember Sheikh Imran Hussein, when he used to come to Malaysia in those days, in 90s, was it in 90s? I think the first time he came to Malaysia, I can remember, was in 1999. He came to Malaysia, his first trip. Maybe he came before, but I first got to know about him in 1999. He was talking about the end of time. And everybody was interested to listen to the end of time. The topic was very attractive. If he came to talk about performing wudu, or how to perform salah, definitely there would be very few people who would get attracted, because this is something everybody knows, how to perform wudu. Even those who don't know how to perform wudu claim that they know. But it was about the end of time. And he kept on talking about the end of time. And I think until today he's talking about the end of time. But of course, the crowd is not as before, because the content may not be so interesting. So the content has to be related to the topic itself. If it is not related to the topic, then you are not doing it rightly. So choosing a topic that is right, not every topic should be chosen. You don't choose a topic that is going to cause some kind of controversy, because in Islam, we have to avoid the shubuhat. This is one of our responsibilities, to avoid the shubuhat. Don't cause the shubuhat. Don't do something that is going to divide the ummah. And make sure that it is relevant. So not everything is relevant, definitely. That's why we talked about relevantization. Is it relevant? Is the topic current? Or is it something that belongs to the old days? Because we do research to find solutions to the problems that we face. And that is why in the past years, people were focusing so much on PBL, problem-based learning. So to learn to solve problems, because we have so many which we cannot solve. But the ulama of the past, when they wrote, they were actually solving the problems of their days, and even those of the people to come. You can read the fiqh of Imam Shafi. He provided solutions even to the problems we face today, which he himself never faced, or his community never faced. So are we in a position to solve, to find the solutions to the problems that we face in our communities? And are we able to even suggest the solutions or provide the solutions to the problems of the future? This is where the challenge is. So is it relevant? And of course, the methodology is very important in a research proposal. So I'm going to talk about the methodology and all these things briefly, inshallah, in the remaining time that we have. So choosing the right topic, make sure that it is doable. You are able to do it. I did mention that. If you're not able to do it, then please don't proceed with that topic because it may be too big. It's always good to diverge, because diversion means what? Diversion means that you are actually starting from something small and you diverge. It's just like a tree. So the tree will start with, of course, it has one stem, but the branches are linked to that stem. The branches are not separate from the stem. So research is supposed to be like that. So you start from small and you start to branch out. So right from the proposal, because the proposal itself is like the roots and the stem of your work. And then what you write in the body of your research are the branches. So we can see the connection to the topic itself. If there is no any connection, then that is a different thing altogether. So that is doable. Do you have the money to do it? Because it may require money, it may require time, it may require energy. All these things, do you have the intellectual abilities? This is also very important, the intellectual ability. Are you a person who is able to analyze things? Do you have the skills? Do you have the skills to synthesize, getting to that high degree or high level of thinking? Or are you a person who is just having the knowledge, but you are not able to even analyze it? You are not able to look out of the box. So again, you need to check your ability. If you don't have those intellectual abilities, then you may need to take some time to acquire them, because they can be acquired. Only when you have acquired those, skills, then you start writing. So is it something you can accomplish or you can't accomplish it? Coming to the methodology, of course, choosing the right methodology is very, very important in any study. And methodology is actually to tell you, to let us know what you want to do, how you're going to do it. If you're going to analyze the data, how are you going to analyze it? But in the first place, you need to tell all the details about what you're going to do. And I have also stated that. So this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'll do it. The second, I'll do this, and this is how I'll do it. So for each, you have to let us know how you are going to achieve it. So where are you going? How you are going there? And if you are going to have some kind of assistance, then you need to identify who will assist you in accomplishing certain things. This is also part of methodology. All the details have to be there so that when the supervisor asks, you can show it. When the examiner wants to know, he will see it, because the focus of the examiners is your proposal and your conclusion. They may not have time to read everything in the body of the research, but they are so interested in your proposal and your concluding remarks. So you need to have a checklist. These are things that must be there, of course, but not everything that must be there is here. I don't want to go into this at the moment, but let us look at these elements because of the limited time that we have. So these are a must in any proposal. You can have other things if in case you want to include, just as we talk about, we can talk about what is fardu and what is mustahab. So something that is a must and something that is encouraged. So if you want to include other things, you are always free, but make sure that these elements are not missing in your proposal. The topic is...
Doctor, you can have 10 minutes more.
Oh, okay, inshallah. So inshallah, I should be able to finish within 10 minutes, within light Allah. So the topic is the first thing that you need to check. Is it there? In fact, even when you are writing the introduction, you will also have to state your topic in the introduction, even though it is on the cover page, but you still also have to state it in the introduction. Introduction is something that should not be too long. Whatever you mention in the introduction is brief but clear, precise. It has to be precise, short but precise. So we are going to look at the things that need to be included in the introduction. Background and rationale can be part of introduction, but they also have independent section. In the introduction, you are going to also talk about the background and the rationale, but you are also going to have a separate section for that, which is not the introduction itself, where you'll have to diverge, get into the details of some of the things. And the research aims and questions, of course, will be also stated in the introduction, but there is also a separate section for it, where you give the detail. Review of literature is also part of introduction, but what is in introduction is very brief, whereas the review of literature in a separate section is more detailed. Research methodology is also part of introduction, but there is another independent section on research methodology where you need to go into the details of each and every method, because what you mentioned in the introduction was general. So the plan of your work, the time schedule, timeline is also part of your introduction, but you have also a separate section for that. Of course, expected outcome of your work need to be clearly stated. What is it that we expect from your work? The impact, of course, bibliography, that is one thing. But in Islamic studies, your bibliography should include first and foremost Al-Quran wa Sunnah. Because without Al-Quran wa Sunnah, then it is not Islamic studies. قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah is demanding that we bring the evidence if we are telling the truth. So you need to quote the ayat to justify what you say. You need to quote the hadith. You need to have that to find the relevant ayah. Every ayah is relevant, but the ayah that is directly related to what you are talking about, or even the hadith that is directly related to what you are talking about, it could be a view of the ulama as well, which also makes it Islamic. So again, inshallah, in 2-3 minutes I'll be done. This is introduction.
We have Q&A. So just now I doesn't look at the time probably for Q&A. We have like 10 minutes until 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. So then I have to stop here. So please forgive me for not being able to get you into some details about some of the things here. But inshallah, hopefully, in future we shall get into some details of these things, because I have added quite a number of things to what I presented in the last workshop. But we are not able to reach the end. But inshallah, I believe that we shall have other opportunities. And if you're on campus, of course, we can always meet to talk more about these things. I thank very much IIIT for organizing this workshop and for inviting me to share my knowledge with you. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it has been beneficial and that it will continue to be beneficial to all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us the best. Jazakumullahu kulla khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are free to ask about what has been presented.